Um, I received, I think, 20 different demands for participating to this session as a speaker. So the choice was very difficult. I hope I have made a good choice with Peter, Thomas, and Mike, and Hal. Al Trivino, hello Hal. Do you hear me? Okay, so I hope, I think really this theme of visual journalism will be very, very important, and it will change the way we are thinking journalism. So, and with the speakers you will understand how important this movement is important. So, Rob, I give you the floor. Now, everything in your hands.
Merci, Bertrand. Thank you, Bertrand. Thank you, Bertrand, and welcome to Hong Kong. A visual journalism revolution. This was a very exciting title. I hope we can live up to it. I know there are some revolutionaries among us. Some are our speakers. This also represents a session that is right at the intersection of high technology and visual journalism, which is one of the fuel or one of the catalysts, one of the engines of this revolution, more low-cost digital visual documenting technology, whether it's iPads or small cameras that can do films. I thought I would open not with words, but with visuals in keeping with this theme. So I'm going to shut up and ask the gentleman back there to screen a movie that I filmed just in the last 24 hours.
What do you say when you take a picture?
We don't say anything.
Ah, okay.
Thank you. So I didn't get much sleep last night either. I don't know what you all were doing. But I said we're going to have some really special guests. 3 of them are in front of me. One is in London, Al Trivino, who is get this, at News International. He calls himself a creative entrepreneur, but he is really the director for innovation. And he's one of these visual journalists who's moved across different types of media forms, always bringing creative solutions to whatever project it is he's tackling. Hello, Al. Greetings from Hong Kong.
Hello.
I give the floor to you, my friend. It's good to see you.
Great to see you. Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted to. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect, perfect. First of all, I just wanted to apologize because unfortunately I cannot be with you today, but I wish I could be there. And then what I wanted to do is I wanted to uh, inspire you with some spoken things. Um, it will. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see it. We can see it. Just speak up a little bit.
Sure.
It'll help.
Okay. So what I wanted to share with you is I've just put together a new division within the company, which is it's called is Product Vision Lab, and I'm going to explain you a little bit about why do I think we need that kind of division, that kind of unit in the company. And I would love to share with you one of the latest apps or prototypes that we've been putting together lately. Just to contextualize, I think, well, we all kind of know that time, location, and speed and emotion are probably today the most important things that we need to count any creative industry. Uh, Most importantly, because information by itself isn't valuable. There is too much content, too easily and too perfectly predictable, but too little time to enjoy it. We as media providers, we are not consuming against other media competitors. We are competing against Angry Birds and against all big brands, or from Volvo to BMW to H&M, who are capable to engage directly with the customers and offer them high quality content propositions. So for us, the big challenge that we need to tackle is probably, we need to be able to deliver an entertainment and personal experience that is associated to that content. It isn't just about content, it's about the intimacy that we can create through that content. So having that background in mind, I put together Product Vision Lab. The objectives of this unit is to, number one, to understand what are our customers' needs and behaviors. And number two is to futurecast a vision that is challenging, but also informing thinking into our strategy very early in the process. So I'm having this 2 to 3 years horizon in mind. And what I do is every month I try to answer a broad question through 3 tangible prototypes. And to do so, I'm trying to apply three different lenses to innovation. One is macro, one is micro, and one is nano, which I'm going to explain you quickly right now. Macro are cross-industry trends and events that are changing forever the way we consume, edit, and distribute content across any industry. So, for instance, those are 3 macro projects I'm working on right now. It's value-free in the age of collaborative consumption, personal media for super social audiences, the school of tomorrow in big society. So you can see how these are very, very big trends. Then on a micro level, I'm researching projects that are related to creative industry, the gaming industry, the music industry, to we media. In this sense, for instance, those are some of the projects I'm researching on right now. Touch creates desire. How could we have the window shopping experience that you have when you're walking down the Fifth Avenue in New York, for instance, by using multiple devices? What is the relationship those devices have with each other? And then on a nano level, I'm trying to answer strategic questions that we need to address today to make sure that the media we are producing is better and more intimate for the audience. In that sense, these are 3 of the top projects working on right now. Are I think they are very, very relevant to all of us. You know, it's the future of the linear journeys and editions, filmic and gaming storytelling narratives in media, and educational and exchangeable content. You know, I'm trying to explore new journalistic genres and new business models. What I wanted to share with you quickly today is this prototype I put together related to the Olympics. Main four objectives I had when I was working on this project were one, how do I use sensors on mobile devices to enrich the personal experience? So rather than just using this device to lighten, how physically using this device I could get on a more personal experience. Then I was trying to explore how to use what is next in traditional graphics. What will be the next stage? Especially thinking that these devices are essentially very visual. You know, one of the things that are more notable when you are just consuming media in these devices is the power and how rich becomes the image, especially because of the display resolution. So what I'm trying to do here is also challenging interactivity. Rather than having multiple menus to tap, it's about offering a controlled journey with a beginning and an end that will last for 6 minutes. And the experience is going to be delightful from the very beginning to the very end. So it's like creating a mini TV show. Then trying to explore how to use games to emphasize the values of journalism and how to tap onto educational values by reinforcing the content that you might be enjoying here through the game. And at the end, also, most importantly, what I was trying to do is I was trying to explore how collectible features could support new exploitation models. That means what you're gonna see right now is a collection of apps, of mini apps. One app for each of the 26 things that are available in the Olympics. So quickly, what I'm going to do now is share my iPhone simulator. Can you see the phone right now?
Yep, we
in
can
front of
see
you?
your iPhone there,
Perfect.
Al.
So just to contextualize, the purpose of this prototype, it wasn't, my mission is not to deliver final products, but to inspire the vision of the company and to inform into the strategy through tangible prototypes. So the main objective here, together with all the previous four objectives I've just shared with you, is I was also trying to define how the role music is going to be played in all new systems. One of the critical things that I believe is going to happen is I think it's the right time to start having music composers in our museums to create music for our compositions daily basis, not just to illustrate content, but to create an experience out those sounds. So, can you see now the presentation?
Yep, we can hear
Welcome
your
to
music
the
too.
Olympic Visual Dictionary. The Olympic Visual Dictionary is the most innovative way to get in touch with the world's greatest sporting event. Use your phone to teach yourself how to play like an Olympian. One at a time, it lets you learn about an Olympic sport and perfect its techniques using your phone. All the while, you'll be building your own medals collection by playing games and showing how much you have learned. You can win anything from an Olympic certificate to a gold medal. As your medals grows, you can compare it with those of your friends and put them in the shade. By adding new disciplines, You can build up your own library of Olympic sport and make your medal collection even bigger. And you can win a special prize. Simply swipe to browse from one discipline to another and tap and play to interact with the content. Good luck and have fun.
Okay, so essentially what it is this is about learning all the Olympic disciplines by playing and practicing them with your phone. This is how you browse all of them, and
The sport, deadly past. Fencing began in the late 18th century as a safer alternative to the deadly popular practice that had led to deaths. Are you up for a fight? Fencing is one of four sports being featured.
so just before we move on, quick, as you have just heard, this is about collecting all the disciplines and learning how to practice them by physically interacting with your phone. And at the same time, you're gonna be able to compete against your friends, and you're gonna collect the medals. So there is this sequence of Olympic certificate, bronze medal, silver medal, and gold medal. So the more you learn, the more medals you get, and at the collection will get a big award. What we did for this proposition is this is a real big paid journalism that is trying to tap into values that are going to be valuable not just for this Olympic, but any of. So it's about a visual reference that will be living longer than this Olympic.
Al,
for a
can I just
mobile.
interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes.
Hey, we're getting a little tight on time, and unfortunately, the audio connection is not as solid as we had hoped for. Maybe we can come back to you later in the program. But is there one last thing you wanted to show us? I know there was that you actually can use the phone as a fencing, as if you're holding the sword, and it plays the game or something like this. What happens for the user? Yes.
Play this game. Tilt your phone up and down and left to right to see the fence's equipment, or skip to the next section to look out behind the fence's.
Hey, in this case, you will learn about the mask.
Is a vital piece of equipment.
It's your turn. Press and
We cannot see the camera, but you will be pulling down the mask.
Have a go. To the congratulations. You've been the Olympics. First step, gold and glory.
So the idea is that you can actually use your phone to practice some of these skills, right, from the Olympic sports,
Three
right, a
Olympic
particular skill.
Yes.
Give it a go. Feel the sword in. Hold your phone. Take your wrist, nation and pro, or skip to the next section and learn how to attack.
Yes, exactly.
That was perfect. The ball is yours.
And
Now
it has
head
the
to the
gaming
next
element
sector.
where you can bring in the prizes in competition with other players, right? I think that's going to have to be it for now because of our technical difficulties.
You know?
So if you can stay on the line, we'll maybe work on those, and you can join us for the Q&A. I'm sure people will have some questions for you. Is that okay, Al?
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
Okay, great. Peter, would you stand up? I hate to do this like the real formal way. I'd just like to introduce this to my friend Peter. He's with the Global Times. He's an art director. He's a fabulous guy. He's going to make his way to the podium. He's going to talk about one of the hottest things right now in China is blogging. And one of the hardest challenges as a visual journalist is how do you bring what's happening in the blogosphere make sense in print? And Peter, his presentation. Thank you very much. Peter.
It's ready. Okay, can you hear me properly? Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, just want to make sure. Okay, more or less everyone has the idea about visual journalism, so I don't want to. I don't need to explain it anymore. Okay. News is in the eyes of the blogger. Visual journalism in China is changing fast. Before the age of internet, Chinese used to there. I need to go fast because I'm running short of time. Okay. Yeah. Chinese used to rely on print media like the newspapers, the only source to get photos of the news. But at the age of internet, photo sources are more diversified. Chinese internet users often go to internet like media websites to see interesting photos. And visuals on the internet. The most recent and important change in visual journalism in China is how Weibo, the Chinese term for microblog, have impacted people's lives. More and more people in China, civilians or celebrities, get news and information from Weibo than traditional media. According to China Internet Network Information Center, Chinese Weibo users reached 195 billion in the first half of 2011. Among the several Weibo in China is Sina Weibo, model on Twitter, is the most famous and widely used according to Wikipedia, which has more than 250 million registered users in October 2011. One of the top Weibo users are almost all from the entertainment industry. The most popular microblogger is a Chinese actress, Yao Chen, who has more than 14 million fans by November 14. It's a lot. So Weibo is very oops. So Weibo has become very popular in China because users can get first-hand information from any person or organization that wants to say something through the Weibo platform. A Weibo message contains text of less than 140 words, and users can add pictures, audio, and video clips to help them provide information more effectively. And compared to other Chinese media formats, Weibo is more open platform and for people to voice their opinion. So criticism against the Chinese government is more widespread on Weibo. Many important photos related to breaking news were released on Weibo by some Weibo users. It means with Weibo, everyone can be a reporter. I'm going to show you some examples of the two most, which was blogged. I mean, in terms of hit in the last few months. This tragic death of Yue. I don't know if you heard about it. She's a 2-year-old toddler in October she found Foshan, Guangdong province. Ever since the video footage of how Yue was brutally crushed and twice and ignored by 18 passersby was posted on Weibo, it has gone viral on the internet. This is how we present it on our paper. There you can see the whole process. And the last one finally helped her and brought her to the hospital. It's very sad. After a week, she passed away. And another example, Wenzhou train crash. It was mentioned by Bob earlier and Yolanda. This was July 23, and some survivors of the train crash posted what they experienced firsthand at the scene before any reporter came. So I'll show you their pictures, what they took. So those are like some of the victims who uploaded their photos after the accident. Okay, now I've got the next stage is visuals on TV. This is not supposed to be part of one of the speakers. Anyway, I just to give you an idea in terms of how visualism in China is doing. So it is very costly for TV stations to produce visuals of news events. To report news on site, TV stations need to send a whole team, including reporters, cameramen, and engineers. Then the team sends visuals and voices through satellite or underwater cable back to the TV station. The news department from TV station will then edit content to fit a news program. But sadly, not many TV stations can afford to do that because of the big cost to have on-the-spot shooting and the lack of revenue from commercials for on-site news reporting. So it's always the budget. It is now a trend for TV stations to produce visuals for news in the form of animation. By using animation, TVs can make an original boring story more interesting or more illustrate news in a more vivid way to readers. Of course, the animation cannot distort the facts of the news. The 3D animation can be a part of the whole news event. Sometimes video footage on screen shot can be obtained from mobile phone of a witness. Then technicians will restore the news as it happened. In animation, therefore, that's why now the animation specialists are in high demand. So some of the more well-off Chinese newspapers groups in Hong Kong and Taiwan, such as Apple Daily and Oriental Daily, have also begun to use 3D animation for news. The sample I'm going to show you is how, from Apple's Daily's Taiwan version, the photo shows you the process of how they do animation. Illustrations draw storyboards, animation team including the directors, actors, model designers, and film editors will act out the story. Then the last part will be the finished animation will be checked by quality assessment and news departments for a total of about 2.5 hours. New media like microblog, there are about 300 million users already in China. Will continue to explode in 2012, along with other developments in China's visual journalism. Print media and television stations will try to catch up with the development of the internet. And in my years of working English media, print media in Beijing, I've learned one thing. Images always give way to text. Reporters in China need to fulfill word count every month. So, more text, less photos. This may be the practice in Beijing, but it's not good for print media. One thing is for sure though, China has entered an era when visualizing news has never been more important than before. So, go beyond bloggers. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Why don't you have a seat over here, if you will? Thank you very much, my friend. I'd like to introduce Michael Logan. Michael is the Content and Business Development Manager at Next Media Animation in Taiwan, who I'm sure probably has some additional thoughts about the last topic that you discussed, Peter, the visualization of news. Yes?
We didn't. Peter and I did not coordinate on that, so thank you for the introduction to Next Media Animation. So you saw a bit of the process. We have the storyboard artists, the animators, the motion capture actors. What I'd like to do is just show you a few examples of our work, and if you have any questions about how we make it, feel free to ask.
Okay.
This first piece is one of the pieces that we're most well known for. It's our Tiger Woods animation, which actually came out 2 years ago today. And I'll just play the clip for you. Oh, that's Steve Jobs. I will play. All right, this is Tiger Woods. Is there audio?
高尔夫球王老虎伍兹经传在美国时间周五凌晨约2点开车撞上这棵树，地点就在他的加州佛罗里达豪宅附近。警方接到报案有撞车意外，到场时伍兹受伤倒地，老婆艾琳在旁照顾。老婆供称伍兹开车撞消防栓后又撞上路树。她听到巨响跑出屋外，发现老公受伤，她打不开车门，拿球杆敲破车窗才救出老公。
He was in and out of consciousness with lacerations to his upper and lower lip, with a little bit of blood in his mouth, but he...
What did he say?
Nothing. He was mumbling, that was it.
伍兹老婆的供词疑点重重，尤其伍兹车子的安全气囊没爆开，却满脸伤痕。最近伍兹和纽约跑趴女王吴启泰传绯闻，外传伍兹和老婆当天为这事吵架，老婆抓伤伍兹的脸，他一气之下开车离家，老婆追出来。 还用球杆猛敲车子，伍兹转头查看，一分神就发生这起撞车意外。对于外界揣测，伍兹只透过官网向球迷报平安。
It explains the events leading up to Tiger Woods' now infamous car crash in Florida 2 years ago. And what the animation serves is it provides a fuller picture of the events that we believed happened at the time. So it's supplementing the AP video there. It's supplementing, the stand-up interview with the police officer. We had the photos, but the thing that was missing was what actually took place that night and leading up to that. And that's where the animation comes in, and that's how we use animation at Next Media Animation and Apple Daily and our TV station in Taiwan. We're animating the missing action. Because often when you're doing news reporting, you have the stand-up interview, you have the talking head, but you're missing a crucial piece of the video, and that's the action that was not captured on video. So we're doing about 2.5 hours of, or 2.5 hours per week, finished animation, and that goes to the Apple Daily newspaper here in Hong Kong, the Apple Daily newspaper in Taiwan, and also our TV station. Now, internationally, we're also using animation to do more commentary and satire, and I'll just show you this clip right here. This particular clip, the Tiger Woods clip, incidentally, was 7 million views internationally. This one was about 2 million views.
第4代 iPhone 争议不断，贾伯斯忙灭火。苹果电脑创办人贾伯斯帮他的公司赚了好几十亿美元，这要多谢 iPad 跟 iPhone 的功劳。
We released this last year. This is a story on Antenna Gate after the
苹果现在
release
的
of the
大奖
iPhone
竟然
4.
比微 微软还大。贾伯斯变成当下最重要的科技业界领袖，可是又有人说，贾伯斯的生意做得越大，他也变得越来越邪恶。当第4代 iPhone 的样品被科技部落格 Gizmodo 拿到的时候，贾伯斯要求警察搜 Jason Chen 的房子，逼他交出样本。最近有一些报道指控苹果合约的代工厂剥削员工，有人认为苹果对应的态度太冷漠。很多使用者并不喜欢买 iPhone 就一定得跟 AT&T 公司绑约，决定集体告苹果电脑。最新的问题是 iPhone 收讯的障碍。可是贾伯斯说，问题不在苹果，而是在消费者的手挡到了 iPhone 的天线，导致收讯不良。手不要挡到就没事了。可是当消费者讯息杂志拒绝推荐第4代 iPhone 的时候，贾伯斯发现代志大条了。贾伯斯开记者会解释这些问题。贾伯斯说 ，iPhone 第4代是有天线问题没错，可是其他智慧手机也都有一样的问题。如果大家还是不满意的话，苹果会免费发送便宜的天线盖来解决问题。
So that is we're using animation there as thank you, as a form of parody, and it's sort of like having an op-ed, like a cartoon in your newspaper, where actually an animation could be like a dozen different a dozen different op-ed cartoons. We hit upon a number of different stories about Apple, the way they treat their workers in Shenzhen, and using 2 minutes of animation, we told a lot about Apple in that story. We have this other product, though, that we're trying to build up internationally, and we call that product News Direct. And this is more, traditional animation to help supplement your video. It's sort of like a Reuters or AP service. News editors from around the world can come to the News Direct website. It's newsdirect.nma.com.tw, download 30 seconds of animation, and then use that as part of their video package. So I'm going to play for you an example of what one of those videos looks like. Over the summer, there was a terrible stage collapse in Indiana. I think it killed about almost a dozen people. And there was actually a lot of footage of the stage collapse. But we also supplemented that footage with animation. This is the footage that was shot there on the scene. That's a huge stage, came crashing down.
Authorities have blamed the deadly stage collapse at the Indiana State Fair on Saturday night on freak weather conditions. 5 people were killed and dozens injured when strong winds caused the stage to collapse onto a section of the crowd. Moments before the collapse, the winds, which gusted up to and above 70 miles per hour, tore off the tarpaulin covering the right side of the stage. The extra pull created by the loose tarpaulin placed even more sideways stress on the structure, causing the already top-heavy stage to fail catastrophically.
So we're distributing animation free of charge around the world through this News Direct service. And this is an example of how a news station in Washington, D.C. is using that animation as part of their package. Just skip here to the end.
In Indianapolis. It was sort of a case where, I mean, I don't want to say a perfect storm, but the way that the stage was built, we have a little animation here for you, that what happened was 60, 70 mile per hour winds actually ripped a part of the stage apart, okay, and that became flapping. When that starts flapping, then what happens is it then pulls, as that's flapping with 70 mile per hour winds, it then puts a lot of stress on the whole structure and pulls the whole stage down. And remember, these aren't, built to withstand these kinds of winds, especially they hit them just right. And that's what happened. The winds hit them just.
Okay. So while we're known for Tiger Woods, which went viral 2 years ago today, and also, our animated satire, which is well known in the United States and the UK, we're also developing this News Direct service. We're providing these animations free of charge, and we're hoping that TV stations around the world, such as WUSA in Washington, D.C., will use them. And I'll leave it at that for now. But I'll answer any questions that you have in the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Michael. That's great. So we'll have some time for questions, but first, may I introduce Mr. Thomas Loudon. Thomas is a founder of VJM Visual Intelligence, one of two founders. He worked as a video journalist based in Iran for 3 years. From there, he's covered wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and the Iranian response to 9/11. Thomas.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I am indeed the founder of the VJ movement, but also of the cartoon movement, and both are publishing platforms of visual journalism. One specializes in video journalism, and the other in editorial cartoons. To give you an idea of what we do, I'd like to ask the people in the back there to start the little video.
Kind of say that more clearly. I'm Harvey Stein.
C'est Grégoire Ouzon.
My name is Kristen Gillespie.
My name is Aaron Goodman.
Akiko Fujita.
Jonathan Tamayo. Carlos Cornejo.
Ahmad Salah.
My name is Jeremy.
And as a video journalist, my goal is often to tell stories about how people are affected by some of the most critical issues.
We cover news all across Latin America.
Tokyo.
In Bangkok.
Amman, Jordan.
Georgia. Costa Rica.
Jerusalem. Malawi. In Southern Africa.
This is not a black and white place. It's not a black and white world. I look for stories that kind of say that.
So I think that they are the people like everyone else. They deserve to be the same.
The survivors who are living in Rwanda now, they are literally living next door to the people who killed their family.
There are stories waiting to be told in the tiniest villages, or in this case, the most crowded corners of the world.
Todos tenemos capacidad de acción.
I've got a friend here who wants to talk on camera.
Yes.
Say hello.
Hello.
A bomb dropped by the fascist troops during the Civil War killed 42 people.
40 kilometers to the north is Tel Aviv. 30 kilometers to the south is Gaza.
Allez, donne-la-moi. À ton tour.
And is it always blue?
No, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's yellow.
Trash turns toxic in the summer heat. 20% of the so-called rag pickers don't live to see their 5th birthday.
Over the past 2 decades, Kashmir has continued to experience the tenuous dance between popular resistance, militant violence, and governmental oppression.
When I decided to do journalism, it evolved into something along the lines of voicing marginalized people.
My goal is to continue to cover underreported stories and to help reveal how people's lives are impacted on the ground.
There's no other place on the planet where it's more clear than in the Middle East that there's more than one truth.
I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of what we do. At the beating heart of our organization is our ever-growing network of currently more than 250 carefully selected correspondents, video journalists and cartoonists, based in more than 100 countries. We think about the potential of video journalism every day, and today I'd like to share some of the thoughts that we have on the topic with you. To do that, I would like to introduce my daughter to you. Her name is Anna, she's 5 years old, and she's already pretty media savvy. And I'm convinced that by the time she's old enough to follow the news, there might not be such a thing as a daily TV show as we know it now anymore. This style. Because if you think of it, there's no sustainable logic to it. A TV news show expects us to spend 20 minutes of our time on a tombola. It's like a Kinderüberraschung. You know, one of those eggs that comes with a surprise inside, and 9 out of 10 times the surprise is a disappointment. It's the same with TV news shows. In each one of them, you will get maybe 2 items that you're really interested in. That amounts to maybe 4 minutes of the show, or 20% of the time. So 80% of your time has gone to waste. For now, we continue to look at them and to watch them because large parts of our societies are not fully adapted to the alternatives yet. And the alternatives are still in the process of inventing themselves, but they are beginning to emerge. I'd like to discuss two developments with you that we can see happening right now. And the first one, obviously, is YouTube. User-generated content made them very big. They've become the one-stop shop for people looking for videos to watch, and they're embarking on the next adventure that will make them a very serious competitor for traditional TV channels, including news channels. YouTube has started cooperating with selected partners to create channels. This is our channel. Channels with more professional content that can compete in quality with the content that the traditional channels are showing. But they're making life a lot easier for the producers. YouTube provides the publishing platform and the maintenance of the technology. YouTube will do the marketing, they'll sell the ads for them, they will provide the statistics. YouTube will make it available to a global audience. They'll make it unnecessary for producers to pay satellite providers, etc., etc., etc. And of course, YouTube will also make sure that it gets a decent chunk of the ad revenues, but it will share them with the providers of the content. And these providers can concentrate on doing what they're good at, producing news. And they can cut back considerably on expenses that they had for things YouTube is now doing for them. We at the VJ Movement already built our platforms, but if I would start today, I wouldn't bother. I would just go with a YouTube channel, produce content, and forget the rest. So back to my daughter. She was much younger in this picture. In a few years' time, she will have a personalized profile on YouTube. YouTube will know what news she's interested in and offer that to her. And if she wants to know more, YouTube will have put additional pieces just one mouse click away. Now, instead of wasting 80% of her time, she'll be using 80% of her time efficiently on things that she wants to know, and she can choose when to do it and how long she wants to do it for. The tombola has become an à la carte menu in a restaurant of her choice. And the Kinderüberraschung has become a transparent egg. The second development that's beginning to happen is specialization of the media. At the moment, media organizations tend to be hybrid institutions, covering everything on every possible platform. But budgets are getting tighter all the time. So how sustainable is that? Wouldn't it make much more sense to choose one area of expertise and become really good at that and buy the rest from others who have already specialized in something different? Let's take international news in the Netherlands as an example, and it's by no means a unique example. There are only 2 traditional media outlets left in the country that can still say that they have a network of correspondents. Press agencies provide footage and sheets with information to the rest, so they can still do basic international news coverage. But especially when it comes to analysis and context, the correspondents in the field are dearly missed, and it shows every day. The core activity of the VJ movement is the careful selection of correspondents and the production of context and analysis pieces. Some of the media have already started to partner with us for their international news coverage. It will save them time and a lot of money, while it allows them to bring in-depth and original reporting to their viewers once again. Back to my daughter for a moment. Because the question we often get, will she really notice that it wasn't the channel itself that produced the piece? And if she does notice, but the piece she's watching is well produced, will she care? I don't think she will, because she trusts the channel, and airing a video is still an editorial choice. This type of specialization is possible in many fields, and I think it's an important route to survival for many media organizations. Let me end with a couple of thoughts that I have. When we first started VJ Movement in 2009, we just wanted to produce video. And then we met a cartoonist who pointed out to us that there was no international publication platform for editorial cartoons. So together with him, we started building one. And then he showed us a cartoon comic, like this one. And this great way of telling a story never got a chance to take off in newspapers because it was too expensive to print. online size is not an issue. So we had another form of visual journalism at our disposal, and we're accumulating a network of people who are cartoonists/journalists. Then we built an interactive cartoon that allows us to combine all these different forms of visual journalism in one presentation, and it allows the viewer to consume the information layer by layer. And right now, we are creating interactive video that can do the same. And last but not least, we're also experimenting with animation journalism. And I'm sure that when Anna grows up, she might read this presentation and she'll ask me, "But Dad, at the time, why didn't you mention this form of visual journalism, or that form, or the one that I'm using right now?" And my answer will be that at the time, I couldn't possibly imagine all those forms of visual journalism that she will then be taking for granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. We have a few minutes for questions, and I just checked, Yvonne, do we still have Al in London on the line? We do. So Al, can you hear us? Say hello to the room. They haven't gone anywhere. Al, are you there? Maybe Al left. Who has a question for one of our three esteemed visual journalists here? Anyone with a question? Yes, please. There are microphones. If you just raise your hand, they can get them to...
I'd just like to talk about costs for a bit. Two of you said that, well, you said Next Media distributes its animation for free. As far as the video... I'm saying the last speaker and your two channels on YouTube. Could you just talk about costs, even if, costs?
What are your costs? Yeah.
Costs, yeah.
At the moment, we are distributing those animations that you saw on the News Direct website at no cost to the end user. There is a cost to us, of course, to produce it, and we plan to recoup that cost at a later date. But for the moment, we're distributing those animations free of charge. We do custom animation for clients, and that cost typically runs around $2,000 to $4,000 US per minute, which is far cheaper than what most other animation studios would charge you in the Asia region.
Well, if you talk about cost, I'd like to start talking about saving cost, because we've had many people coming up to us and saying, well, what you're charging, that's expensive. I can get footage for much less. And then we always say, well, okay, so you get footage. Has that been edited? Has it been translated? Has it been made ready to air in all sorts of forms? Have you had to travel for it, etc., etc.? So if you look at that, and then you would reverse to us, then you see that what we are doing is actually working with people who are already on the ground and who deliver a ready-to-air product. So that's said first, because often people say, well, I can get $300, I can get footage or something like that. Yeah, fine, but you still need to do something about that. There's a lot of hidden cost behind that. So having said that, then we count in euros, and we roughly ask for about 1,500 euros for a story. And when it comes to cartoons, there's two ways, obviously also with videos. Cartoons that you take from our database are roughly 100 euros. Cartoons that you order, because it's also possible to come up to us and say, well, I would like to have a series of cartoons or one cartoon about this topic, you should say around 250 euros.
Cool. Any other questions about visual journalism? Yes, sir. The microphone is coming.
I'm Bambang Harimurti from Indonesia, from Tempo. I'm interested when you mentioned about YouTube, you earn from the advertising that YouTube generated. Do you believe that the portion you get from YouTube and the amount that you might receive, is there some sort of how many million of viewers you have to get in order for you to break even, let's put it this way? Thank you.
For the moment, I don't think YouTube can be the only source of revenue, because, as you say, you need a large number of YouTube hits in order for it to be, well, break even, if you just do that. But again, what I just said earlier about the cost you're saving, I mean, you're getting money for doing just one thing, which is producing a video and putting it on YouTube. again, you're saving so much money on technology, on marketing stuff, on sales of advertising, etc., etc. YouTube does that for you. That it does make it worthwhile. And YouTube is, I mean, I often compare it, if there's a very famous market in the city that you live in, it doesn't make sense to start a new market 2 streets around the corner. And YouTube is just a huge market of people who want to watch video. So that's where you have to try to sell.
I'll add to that. So there's the savings. You don't have to develop the platform. YouTube has developed a video platform. It's a pretty robust platform. You're not going to develop a better platform than YouTube, so you might as well just be on YouTube. But secondly, you do have to have other revenue sources. You know, we get at Next Media Animation, we do millions of views each month, but it's a small portion of our overall revenue. What YouTube does is get us out there and gets us introduction with people who are then going to order a custom animation from us. So YouTube has been very instrumental just in marketing our services. The advertising revenue is just an added bonus on top of that.
I'd like to add one more thing just to that. And we've stopped seeing videos or cartoons as the product that we have. We don't sell videos or cartoons. We sell independent journalism. And if you look at what you do in that sense, then there are so many options to monetize your content. And your world becomes a lot bigger. We're working with the London School of Economics, for instance, who have an interest in having their academic research translated into independent journalistic pieces. So that's just to mention one, but there are several other ways to make money with what you do. And the core still is producing independent journalism.
Thank you. We maybe have to wrap up in just a minute or two, is that right? And maybe one question. We also have Al, you're back, right, Al? We can see you on our screen. If you have a question for Al, he's standing by in London. So please, speak up, please.
Hi. Yeah, you can hear me, right? Yeah. My name's Garrett Goodman. I'm from Citizen Side. We have a network of citizen journalists, 70,000 of them. And in order to grow that huge network, it was really important for us to focus on our members and what they want out of it. Every time we sell any of their content, they get at least half of it. So Thomas, my question is for you. In your case, how much does a member make off of the advertising revenue coming from YouTube and the individual sales?
One of the things I worry most about in journalism is that many media organizations have taken over the notion that information is free, and they're not paying their journalists decently anymore. So one of the important things that we do is we do pay them decently. I mean, it's costly for us, but it's also important because if you want good content, it's going to cost money. So we have agreed a flat fee with a journalist. We haven't gone through the motions of indexing that for the world, no Hamburg indexes yet, because that's a huge chunk of administration that you're going to have to do. But we give them a flat fee, and depending on whether they're a cartoonist or a video journalist, that flat fee is differently, obviously.
Does that fee fluctuate depending on if they're in a hot spot, or if they're in a conflict zone, or their level of expertise or experience? Is that a negotiated rate that they have, or is it a one rate for everyone who contributes?
We don't negotiate the rate. We just say that if for instance, they need to travel for a story and they need to go far, but the story is worthwhile, we say, well, produce a second story there as well, because then you get twice the rate.
Ah, okay. So just work more, earn more. Okay, that's okay. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Microphone is coming. Last question.
Thank you. Last question for me. I'm Jeffrey Gu from Shenzhen University, China. I have a question to ask Mr. Logan. You just showed us a very interesting movie picture of the news. I know that there are a newspaper titled The Apple, both in Hong Kong and Taiwan, as the first newspaper to apply this kind of movie cartoon news. My question is, who is the producer, and who have a decision of the topic, and how much does the paper pay for that each day? Thank you.
Okay. It's a good question. Well, Next Media Animation, the studio is 400 people, and it's part of Next Media Group, which consists of the Apple Daily newspaper in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Next TV, which is our TV station in Taiwan. So the editor of those news operations commission the animation, and then they speak to our storyboard artists in the animation studio. They talk them and walk them through the story, and then it goes into the production process. So the person that's ordering and commissioning the animation is either a reporter or an editor at these news organizations.
So that's it for the Visual Journalism Revolution 2011. Stay tuned, I'm sure, for next year where we'll be hearing some more. Thank you, Bertrand.
And thanks to you. Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al. What time is it in London?
Now 1 o'clock.
Okay. See you in Paris next year.
See you in Paris. Have a great day.
Goodbye. Goodbye. So I'm immediately asking you to go down very quickly. And I'm calling Inaki. I'm Kerry. Where are the speakers? Where? One speaker, two speakers.